Every year, millions of people lose belly fat the same way with effort, discipline, and sacrifice. And almost every year, that same belly fat quietly returns, sometimes faster than before, sometimes even harder to control. This is not a coincidence, and it is not a lack of discipline. Belly fat has rules of its own, and most people are never taught what those rules are. The truth is, belly fat is not just stored energy, it is active tissue. It listens to hormones. It responds to stress. It reacts to how your body feels about safety, hunger, and survival. That is why two people can eat the same food, exercise the same way, and still get very different results around their waist. In this video, you will learn the real reason belly fat comes back even after strict diets, intense workouts, and months of progress. You will learn why belly fat behaves differently from fat on the arms or legs, why quick weight loss often backfires, and why your body may be working against you without you realizing it. This is not about motivation or willpower. This is about biology, hormones, and systems inside your body that were designed to protect you, not make you lean. By the end of this video, you will understand why belly fat return feels unfair, why counting calories alone is not enough, and why many common weight loss strategies secretly make the problem worse. You will also start to see why people who keep belly fat off long term do things very differently, even if it looks simple from the outside. This video connects the dots that most fitness advice skips because it focuses only on effort and ignores how the body actually works. Stick with this video until the end, because one small detail you will hear later explains why belly fat returns even when you think you did everything right. Once you understand that detail, your entire view of fat loss will change. If you care about real body science, clear explanations, and honest answers without hype, you are in the right place. Welcome to our channel. Subscribe now because every video here is built to help you understand your body better and make progress that actually lasts. Most people grow up believing a very simple story about belly fat. If it comes back, it must mean something went wrong. Maybe discipline slipped. Maybe old habits returned. Maybe motivation faded. This idea sounds logical on the surface, so it gets repeated everywhere. Gyms repeat it. Diet plans repeat it. Social media repeats it. The message is always the same. Work harder. Be stricter. Control yourself more. But this explanation ignores something important. It ignores how the human body actually works. Belly fat does not return because you suddenly forgot how to be disciplined. It returns because your body responds to weight loss as a threat. From the body's point of view, losing weight is not a victory. It is a warning. The body does not know the difference between a planned diet and a dangerous shortage of food. When weight drops, especially quickly, internal systems shift into protection mode. These systems existed long before modern food, gyms, or diet culture. They evolved to keep humans alive during long periods of scarcity. Belly fat plays a central role in that survival system. It is not passive storage. It is active, responsive, and deeply connected to hormones and signals that control hunger, energy use, and fat storage. So when belly fat returns, it is not punishment. It is a response. This is why people can follow a strict plan for months, see results, and then feel confused when their body seems to reverse course. The effort did not fail. Biology took over. One of the most misunderstood parts of fat loss is what actually happens to fat cells. Many people believe that losing fat means destroying fat cells. That idea feels intuitive. Less fat should mean fewer fat cells. But that is not how the body works. When weight is lost, fat cells do not disappear. They shrink. Think of them as empty rooms, not demolished buildings. The structure remains. The capacity remains. Only the contents change. The number of fat cells in your body stays mostly the same after adulthood. When you gain weight, those cells expand. When you lose weight, they deflate. This matters because an empty fat cell is not neutral. It is waiting. Shrunk fat cells send signals that energy stores are low. They become more sensitive to fat storage signals. They are easier to refill than to remove. This is especially true for belly fat cells, which are more hormonally active than fat cells in other areas. They respond quickly to changes in insulin, stress hormones, and energy availability. That is why belly fat can return faster than it was lost. The cells are already there. The infrastructure is already built. All the body needs is a reason to refill them. This is where the idea of willpower completely breaks down. Willpower cannot change the number of fat cells you have. It cannot silence hormonal signals that push the body towards storage. It cannot override survival mechanisms that have been reinforced over thousands of years. After weight loss, the body is surrounded by empty fat cells that are biologically encouraged to refill. Hunger signals increase. Satisfaction signals weaken. The body becomes more efficient at storing energy and less willing to burn it. This is not a flaw, it is a feature. From a survival perspective, it makes perfect sense. If food became scarce once, it might become scarce again. The body prepares for that possibility by restoring what was lost and adding a margin of safety. Belly fat often becomes that safety margin. Another layer of this process is the idea of a defended weight range, often called the set point. The body does not treat all weights equally. It tends to protect the familiar range that it has adapted to over time. When weight stays high for a long period, the body adjusts its internal systems to function at that level. Hormones, metabolism, appetite, and energy use all calibrate themselves to support that weight. When weight drops below this range, the body reacts, appetite increases, cravings intensify, fat storage becomes more efficient, energy expenditure drops. These changes are not random, they are coordinated. The body is trying to return to what it recognizes as normal. This is why weight regain often feels automatic. People describe it as happening without effort, even when they are still trying to be careful. That feeling is real. The body is doing the work behind the scenes. The set point is not fixed forever, but it is stubborn. It is influenced by genetics, long-term habits, stress, sleep, and how fast weight was gained or lost. Rapid weight loss sends a stronger danger signal than slow, steady change. Severe restriction tells the body that resources are unreliable. In response, it strengthens its defense of stored energy. Belly fat becomes especially protected during this process. It sits close to vital organs and plays a role in regulating hormones involved in energy balance. From the body's perspective, belly fat is valuable. Losing it quickly triggers a stronger pushback than losing fat from less critical areas. Hormones are the messengers that carry out this defense. After weight loss, hunger hormones rise. Fullness hormones fall. The brain receives signals that energy is insufficient, even if food intake is still adequate. At the same time, hormones that promote fat storage become more active. Insulin sensitivity can change. Stress hormones can increase. These shifts create an internal environment that favors regaining fat, particularly around the belly. This is why people often feel hungrier after dieting than before they started. It is also why the same amount of food that once maintained weight can now lead to gain. The rules changed, not because of failure, but because the body adjusted its priorities. Adding to this complexity is emerging evidence that fat tissue itself can adapt over time. Fat cells are not just storage units. They are living cells that respond to their environment. When a person lives with excess fat for a long time, those cells may undergo changes that persist even after weight loss. This is sometimes described as a form of cellular memory. The idea is simple. Fat cells that have been large and active for a long period may become better at storing fat later. They may respond more strongly to storage signals. They may pull energy from the bloodstream more efficiently. This makes regain easier, even if behavior does not change much. The body is not starting from zero after weight loss. It is starting from a history. This cellular adaptation helps explain why repeated cycles of weight loss and regain often make the problem worse. Each cycle reinforces the body's belief that energy availability is unpredictable. Each cycle strengthens the drive to store fat quickly when food is available. Belly fat, being highly responsive to hormonal signals, becomes a primary target for this storage. Over time, the threshold for regain can lower. Small changes in eating or stress that once had little effect can now lead to noticeable fat gain. This is not because the person became weaker. It is because the system became more sensitive. Stress plays an important role in this entire process. The body does not separate physical stress from psychological stress very well. Both activate similar pathways. When stress levels are high, stress hormones rise. These hormones influence where fat is stored. They tend to push storage toward the abdominal area. This made sense in a survival context, where stress often meant danger and uncertainty. Today, stress can come from work, sleep deprivation, financial pressure, or constant dieting itself. Chronic stress keeps the body in a defensive state. In that state, fat loss becomes harder and fat regain becomes more likely. Belly fat again becomes the favored location. All of this creates a situation where effort alone is not enough. Someone can eat carefully, exercise regularly, and still struggle with belly fat returning. Not because the effort lacks value, but because the strategy does not match the biology. When the body believes it is under threat, it will prioritize survival over appearance. It will store energy even when the mind wants to let go of it. This is why understanding these mechanisms matters. Without understanding them, people blame themselves. With understanding, the focus can shift toward working with the body instead of constantly fighting it. The common belief that belly fat returns due to bad habits is comforting in one way. It suggests control. It suggests that with enough discipline, the problem can be solved. But it also creates guilt and frustration when reality does not match that promise. The biological explanation is less comforting at first, but more empowering in the long run. It explains why the struggle is shared by so many people across different lifestyles. It explains why quick fixes rarely last. It explains why slow, patient, system-focused approaches tend to work better over time. Belly fat is not stubborn because it is lazy tissue. It is stubborn because it is important tissue. It is tied into systems that regulate energy, safety, and survival. When those systems are disrupted by rapid weight loss, chronic stress, or repeated restriction, they respond predictably. Fat cells shrink but stay ready. Hormones shift to restore balance. The body defends what it knows, and fat tissue, shaped by past conditions, adapts to make regain easier. These processes happen quietly, without permission, and often without awareness. Understanding them does not instantly solve the problem, but it changes the conversation. It replaces blame with clarity and opens the door to approaches that respect how the body truly operates. After weight loss, the body does not quietly accept the new state. It reacts. One of the first changes happens through hormones that control hunger and fullness. Ghrelin, the hormone that increases appetite, rises after weight loss. It does not rise a little. It rises enough to make hunger feel stronger, more frequent, and harder to ignore. At the same time, leptin, the hormone that signals fullness and energy sufficiency, drops. This creates a powerful imbalance. Hunger signals become louder while satisfaction signals become weaker. Meals that once felt filling now feel incomplete. Cravings appear more often even when food quality is good. This shift is not emotional, it is chemical. The brain receives a constant message that energy is missing. As a result, the body becomes more focused on finding food and storing it efficiently. Fat storage pathways become more active. Energy burning pathways become less active. This hormonal shift alone can explain why many people feel like they are fighting their own body after weight loss. Even when eating carefully, hunger feels stronger than before, not weaker. This is the opposite of what people expect, and it is one of the main reasons fat regain feels so frustrating. Alongside these hormonal changes, metabolism also adjusts. The body begins to conserve energy. This is often called metabolic adaptation. After dieting, the body burns fewer calories at rest. It also burns fewer calories during movement. This does not mean the body is broken. It means the body is efficient. It has learned to do more with less. From a survival perspective, this is a smart response. If food supply appears unstable, wasting energy would be risky. So the body slows down. Muscles may burn fewer calories. Organs may require slightly less energy to function. Even unconscious movements become more economical. Over time, this reduced energy use adds up. The same activity that once maintained weight may no longer be enough. The same food intake may now exceed what the body is willing to burn. This creates a silent gap between intake and expenditure, and that gap often ends up stored as fat. This metabolic slowdown is one of the least understood parts of weight regain. People often believe that if they return to normal eating, their body will also return to normal function, but the body remembers the period of restriction. It adapts based on that memory. The slowdown can persist long after dieting ends. This means fat regain can happen even without overeating. It can happen simply because the body is now operating under different rules. Belly fat again becomes a favored storage site because of its sensitivity to hormones and energy signals. It fills quietly while the person feels like they are doing nothing wrong. When weight loss and regain happen repeatedly, these effects become stronger. This pattern is often called yo-yo dieting. Each cycle teaches the body that weight loss is temporary and that food availability is unpredictable. The body responds by becoming faster and more aggressive at storing energy. Hormonal responses become sharper. Hunger rises sooner. Metabolism slows more quickly. Fat cells refill faster. Over time, it takes less disruption to trigger regain. A short break from routine or a stressful period can undo months of progress. This is not because discipline disappeared. It is because the system became primed to protect itself. Yo-yo dieting trains the body to expect loss and prepare for regain. Belly fat becomes part of that preparation. Stress adds another layer to this process. Stress is not just a mental experience, it is a physical signal. When stress is constant, stress hormones remain elevated. One of the most influential stress hormones affects where fat is stored. Higher levels encourage fat storage around the abdomen. This made sense in early human survival, where stress often meant danger or uncertainty. Energy stored near vital organs could be accessed quickly if needed. In modern life, stress comes from different sources, but the body responds the same way. Long work hours, lack of sleep, financial pressure, emotional strain, and constant dieting all contribute. When stress is chronic, the body stays in a defensive mode. In that mode, fat loss becomes less important than energy preservation. Belly fat accumulation becomes more likely, even if calorie intake is controlled. Stress also interacts with hunger and metabolism. High stress can increase appetite for quick energy. It can reduce sensitivity to fullness signals. It can interfere with sleep, which further disrupts hormonal balance. Poor sleep alone can increase hunger hormones and reduce fullness hormones. This creates a feedback loop. Stress raises hunger and fat storage. Fat gain increases frustration. Frustration increases stress. The body stays locked in a cycle that favors belly fat retention. Breaking this cycle requires more than just eating less. It requires reducing the signals that tell the body it is under threat. Exercise plays a unique role in this context. Not all movement sends the same message to the body. Extreme exercise combined with heavy restriction can increase stress signals. Moderate, consistent exercise sends a different signal. It tells the body that energy is being used regularly and that strength and movement are priorities. Resistance training helps preserve muscle, which supports a higher resting metabolism. Aerobic activity improves how the body handles energy and can improve hormonal responses related to fat storage. Exercise also affects how fat cells behave. It can make them less likely to refill quickly. It can improve sensitivity to hormones that regulate hunger and fullness. Exercise also helps manage stress. Movement lowers stress hormones over time. It improves sleep quality. It gives the body a reason to adapt in a positive direction rather than a defensive one. When exercise is consistent but not extreme, it helps shift the body out of emergency mode. This does not mean exercise instantly prevents fat regain. It means it changes the environment inside the body. It reduces the pressure to store energy aggressively. It supports a gradual recalibration of the defended weight range. Importantly, exercise works best when it is not paired with severe restriction. When food intake is too low, exercise can amplify stress signals instead of reducing them. The body then interprets movement as an additional demand during a perceived shortage. This can increase hunger and slow metabolism further. The goal is not exhaustion. The goal is signaling. Regular movement tells the body that energy flow is stable. Strength tells the body that muscle is valuable. Consistency tells the body that the environment is predictable. All these systems interact continuously. Hormones respond to weight loss. Metabolism adapts to conserve energy. Repeated cycles reinforce defensive behavior. Stress pushes storage toward the belly. Exercise can counterbalance some of these signals, but only when used appropriately. None of this happens overnight. None of it is controlled by willpower alone. The body is constantly collecting information and adjusting its priorities. When it perceives danger, it protects fat. When it perceives stability, it becomes more flexible. Belly fat return is not a mystery when viewed through this lens. It is the result of systems doing exactly what they were designed to do under the conditions they are given. Belly fat coming back is not proof that you failed, lost control, or lacked discipline. It is the result of biology working exactly as it was designed to work. Hormones shift after weight loss. Fat cells stay alive and ready to refill. Metabolism adapts to protect energy. Stress changes where fat is stored. Past weight can leave signals that influence future behavior inside the body. None of this is a moral issue. None of this means you did something wrong. It means the body values survival more than appearance. When you understand this, the frustration starts to fade. The fight stops feeling personal, and real progress becomes possible. Because once you know why belly fat comes back, you can stop using strategies that trigger defense and start using approaches that create safety and stability inside the body. You can work with biology instead of fighting it. Belly fat is not unbeatable. It just follows rules that most people are never taught. And learning those rules is the first step toward keeping it off for good. If this video helped you see belly fat in a new way, hit the like button so more people can learn the truth too. Share this with someone who feels stuck and blamed by their own body. And subscribe to the channel because the next videos will show you how to apply this understanding the right way and finally make progress that lasts.